jump through this and that's how I was gonna enter the scene? No. So clearly it's been a while since I've made a video like long enough that, you know, this happened. And first off, I'm sorry. I know I've said this a million times, but I've been lacking on making these videos because quite honestly, I've been so overwhelmed with reselling, okay? With running the eBay store. And of course, to tell you about that, let's illustrate it. You knew this part of the video was coming, so let's suppose that this little Sour Patch guy is me, okay? I wake up in the morning and I really have two options. I can either work that day or work on the flip. Oh, I just realized you might be a first-time viewer and you have no idea what this is. This series is called The Flip, and it's a series where I started with $0 and challenged myself to see how far I could grow that. We've been doing different things along the way, such as reselling primarily. And by grow, I mean try a bunch of things to challenge myself and learn along the way. And so far, we've been doing a lot of reselling on eBay. Welcome to episode 6. All right, back to what I was talking about. So because I work a full-time job, 5 days of the week, I'm at work. And that's why I emphasize this entire flip project is more of a hobby. But what I wanted to focus on was my energy, or how much energy I had in a day. So let's suppose that these watermelons represent my energy for the day. And if I get 8 hours of sleep, that leaves me with roughly 16 hours of energy for that day. So when I wake up, like I said, 5 days a week, I'm at work. And automatically right there, that's gonna take up 8 of my watermelons worth of energy. Sometimes it's more. So after I'm done with work, I have about 8 more hours worth of energy. And you might be thinking, oh, well, just spend that on making videos. And oh, I wish. You see, there's also these things called life responsibilities. Once I'm done with work, I'm usually cleaning the house and just getting caught up after work. And this takes an hour of my energy. And it doesn't stop there. There's also a fourth equally important part of my life, which is the social time and going to the gym. So usually I'm spending an hour in the gym as well as just maybe playing some games with friends to decompress for a second. And this is where I'll usually bounce around for a few hours of energy, just getting things done like grocery shopping or maybe watching TV with the wife for a second. So where does that leave us? Finally, when I'm alone and can focus on what I want to do, you guessed it, there's 2 things that I can do. It's either making money or making videos. And in the first 100 days of this project, all of my time has been focused on running the store, shipping items, and finding more products to resell. So let's start over. Let's suppose it's the weekend, which means we don't have to focus on work that day.
Nice.
Of course, I'm gonna spend a couple of hours of energy in getting things done around the house, as well as making sure that I go to the gym, but the rest of the time can be spent solely on the flip. And lately, it's been looking a lot like this. But moving forward, really my goal is going to be a shift from making money and finding products to resell, and slowly over time things will get easier, and that means I can spend more of my time and my energy on making videos until eventually it looks something like this. Well, that's the goal at least. Alright, so big updates to make in today's video. Good updates. And have you been eyeing this skateboard? Well, I don't blame you. So have you and 15 other eBayers apparently. The first thing I wanted to touch on was this skateboard, because by the time this video is done, this thing will have sold. So let me tell you what happened. So when I'm not making videos, I am watching a lot of other YouTubers on the YouTube University go out and resell. And one of the things that I saw was from a YouTuber called Part-Time Flips, or I think it's Part-Time Flips. And basically he had found a vintage PAL skateboard from the 1980s. And I was shocked at how much that skateboard sold for in the condition that it was.
So you guys saw on the Part-Time Pickers channel, I picked up this skateboard, listed it yesterday for $250 plus shipping or best offer. And right away I got a bunch of offers.
Okay, so here I am on a Friday doing my usual garage sales and estate sales. At least that's what I've been doing for the last few weeks. I go to my first estate sale of the day, and the first thing that I see is this skateboard. And they wanted 10 bucks for it, $10. And I saw, based on the shape and these guardrails right here, that it had to be a vintage skateboard. I could just tell. It was like, this is definitely a vintage skateboard. So I grab it and put it aside, not really thinking much of it. But I also grabbed that day a few more things. I grabbed this blue anvil case, which I actually really like. I grabbed 2 vintage model kit cars, which actually already sold. I also found in one of the cabinets a complete first American edition of Harry Potter, which also already sold. But then I also found a bunch of other smaller items, but that day was great because I went to the Salvation Army later in the day and I also found a turntable which also sold. In the second estate sale I went to, there was a camcorder which sold. And it seems like every estate sale I've gone to over the last few weeks, I've managed to find those VHS players that you know do very well. I'm not gonna dive into every little thing that I bought and I have on inventory. There's just too many to count at this point. But let me assure you, the items are of higher value and they're better than they've ever been. All right, so back to the skateboard. So once I got home from my estate sales and garage sales that day, I actually looked up this board in particular. And this is a 1986 Lester Kasai, I hope I said that right, Adrian Deman vintage skateboard. Now, what's unique about this board is most of the time when you find vintage skateboards out in the wild, a lot of the times they don't have the trucks or the wheels and it's just the board and it's usually in a very beat up condition. This board overall, aside from some loose grip tape here, is in pretty darn good condition. Now what I was shocked about with this board is it actually has the original Gordon and Smith trucks as well as the original bearings, which are pretty good still, and the original wheels. So again, I knew that this board might be worth something, and when I looked it up, the last time it sold, or at least that I could find, was in 2016 for just a deck, which sold for over $500. Now, of course, that deck was brand new, whereas this one's, you know, obviously used. But again, with the trucks and the original wheels and bearings, this is a complete board, and I think it's gonna do well. So today, everything that I've put on the eBay store has been for a fixed price or a fixed listing, meaning that I put the price up there, allow people to make offers, but it's up there until it's sold. An item like this is a little bit unique because there aren't any other ones on eBay and because they're in high demand, I put it up for auction. And within the first 24 hours, I already got a starting bid of $200. And I think at the time of this recording, it has about 16 watchers and it has 2 bids and is currently sitting at $250. Nice. Now the auction ends tomorrow night, meaning that by the time this video is done, we'll get to see how much this board sold for. So stick around because again, by the end of this video, we'll find out how much this board actually sold for. And again, I got it for $10 at an estate sale. Pretty cool. So I'm sure you're curious about where we're at with the numbers and how many listings we have and if we hit $1,000. So let's go ahead and shift gears from the whole reselling because today is Sunday and there's things we got to do. So I'm going to shift it to the life side and I'm bringing the video along with. I promise, I'm really truly not trying to leave you on these giant cliffhangers, okay? I do want to get into the big announcement. I do want to tell you where we're at in terms of how much money we've made so far. But before I do that, I guess I want to explain why it's taking so long to accumulate the money. I guess what this really is going to do is explain the fundamentals of a business. Hopefully I don't bore you out of your mind. Let's say in this illustration that pine cones were the world's currency, and this is what we use to pay for things. And what I wanted to do was get more pine cones. When we started the flip, we started with a single pine cone, okay? These were the things that I had accumulated from around my house that I would then turn around and sell to give us our starting dollars, okay? So the singular pine cones, once we obtained this pine cone, we really had one of 3 options. I reinvested that into buying more inventory, hoping that we get more money. So in this example, if I was the person with the pine cone and I wanted more, I would try and grow a pine tree out of this pine cone. If I was that person, I'd put it in the ground, I'd bury it, flash forward, and boom, look at that, we sprouted a pine cone tree, perfect. So now we have our tree, and now this tree is making pine cones for us. So look at that, oh wow, there's 2 more right here. Oh, a 3rd, wow, cool. So I started with that 1 pine cone, I grew this little tree, and now I have 3 pine cones. Same thing applies. Okay, I buried them throughout, and then boom, an even bigger pine cone tree. So at this point in the story, I started out with 1 pine cone, I grew a small tree, I took the 2 pine cones or 3 pine cones that smaller tree gave me, I grew an even bigger tree. So at this point in the story, if you asked me,
how many pine cones I have, I actually have to technically say 0, or maybe I have 1 left over, but I have this bigger tree here that I'm hoping is gonna produce me more pine cones. Some time passes by and pine cones! I have a lot of pine cones. I have a lot of pine cones, and maybe I have more pine cones than I can actually plant trees, okay? So we're losing sun, and I don't have enough time to plant all these pine cones and hope that it's gonna make me more trees. So what do I do? In the world of business, you really have 3 choices when it comes to your money, okay? Or in this example, are pine cones. The first choice that you have as a business is to reinvest that money back into the business. A lot of the times this looks like, you know, researching and developing what the next iPhone would be, or maybe you want more inventory, right? Because your inventory is selling out every Friday. A newer business, it's all about taking your initial funds and reinvesting it back into the business. That's option number 1. Option number 2 in a business when it comes to your pine cones is to hold on to it, to have cash on hand for bills. Most businesses on average should have about 3 to 6 months of expenses saved in a bank. And if you don't have that savings, what happens is what recently happened within the airline industry, what we saw recently due to the pandemic, where a lot of the airlines didn't have the money on hand to float them for 3 to 6 months and had to go to the government and ask for a bailout. For this business, we don't really have any expenses. Everything's online. The only thing that we're spending money on is buying more inventory, going out to different yard sales and estates and buying more inventory for the flip. Now finally, the third option, the last option, and that's to pay out the people who are in the business, to give yourself a salary. So a lot of the times this comes in the form of salaries, bonuses, stock dividends, but it's a way to reward those who are invested into the business and give them money that the business has earned. Those are your 3 options. After 100 days of reselling, we finally hit our net cash profit goal of $1,000. We've actually sold over $5,000, but we've obviously had to spend money on shipping and fees, as well as reinvesting back into inventory, which we have over $4,000 worth of product listed out there to date. And again, remember, this started at 0. The rate at which money is coming in, the amount of inventory that I have out there, and the way that I fine-tuned my hunting skills to find good inventory, I feel really confident about setting this next goal. Our next goal is to go from $1,000 to $2,000. Our next goal is to go from $1,000 to $10,000. We're losing sun, so let me wrap up this part of the video. Are you excited about season 2? Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Do you guys think it's possible to go from 1,000 to 10,000? How fast do you think I'll do it? Maybe let me know. I don't know. Maybe let me know in the comments. I don't know.
You shall not pass.
That was like an 8 out of 10.
So it is the next day, and I just finished work for the day, which means now I get to work on the reselling business. Tonight is the night. I have waited 10 days. This thing's been on auction. There's about 20 people watching it. And tonight around 9:30, we're gonna watch this thing get sold. So again, that wraps up tonight. So that's what we need to do before this video ends. But there's one other thing that we need to do as well. So yesterday when I was in Tucson, this sold. So this was a golf bag that Lacey actually spotted when we went to a Goodwill before we went camping for the weekend last week. It sold within a week for $130, but I did put free shipping on it. Here's the fun part. This is probably by far the largest item I have ever shipped. And we're gonna have to get creative because I don't have a box big enough for this. So here's a little pro tip that I saw somebody else do on YouTube. When it comes to really large items, you wanna have lots of bubble wrap as well as black saran wrap. So the idea here is that we're gonna wrap that golf bag with bubble wrap, and then we'll finish it off with black saran wrap so that we can ship it off as that large item. Let's wrap this up, and let's also wrap this video up.
Get it, loser, or go to the post office.
All right, guys, it's officially time to wrap up this video. One last thing that we have to do, which is to watch the skateboard's auction end and see how much we make off of the skateboard. I was receiving bids on it all night, so I'm now going to watch the last minute of it live, and we're going to show you what happens. Okay, I'm super zoomed in because I don't want you to see the amount that it's currently at. We'll be at 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.